important issues. Before we went on the 30-minute coffee break, you were talking about orders that were given to you by Yaya Jammeh, that if any council member came to State House after 6 p.m., you are authorized to shoot and kill the council member. That was what we talked about before the coffee break. You also told us that you were given the order in the presence of Edward Singate, who was also a council member. Correct. Afterwards, you called all the other council members and told them that if they came to State House after 6 p.m., they wouldn't see the president.
That's correct.
Right. And you thought that it was wise for you to modify the order.
Correct.
At this stage, did you think that the order included Edward Singate?
It didn't include him, I believe, because it would not have been said in his presence then.
But after that order, did Edward Singate continue to come to State House after 6 p.m.?
He has been coming after 4, after closing at 4 o'clock onwards. He used to be in the office of the chairman.
Nothing happened to him?
Until one day,
in English?
Wait until after the christening ceremony.
At this time, was there a christening ceremony to take place that you knew about?
It was then when we moved behind the guard room, where his animals were, that he pointed to a ship and told me to send it to Sanasabali for the christening of his wife, of his child.
Did Sanasabali have a child at the time?
It was then that I knew that the wife had a child.
And you sent the ram, the sheep, to Sanasabali, did you?
I did.
At that moment, when you realized that Sanasabali was to christen his newly born baby, did you put the connection that whatever they were talking about was to happen after this christening ceremony?
I had some doubts, but definitely I was not going up to that level then.
You did not arrive at that conclusion?
I didn't come to that conclusion.
Okay. I asked you earlier, what were the power dynamics amongst members of the council? How did you see their interpersonal relationship at this time?
I knew Sanasabali and Haidara were closer together than the other council members towards each other, because I didn't see much that closeness between Edward Singate and the others. But I saw the two, they were very close.
What was the relationship like between Edward and Sanasabali at this time?
Well, I would not say there was something, there is something in their relationship. I didn't know, because I always see them at the State House when they are together to meet the chairman also, but their personal relationships, closeness also, I would not know.
Did you sense any rivalry between them?
Well, as I said before, the two were always together, but not with Edward Singate. What was the reason? I didn't know.
Did you see any form of rivalry between Sana Sabali and Edward Singate?
Well, I observe Edward Singate as somebody who was very overconfident in himself, maybe that believed that he is better or more educated or anything to anybody else. And he was number 4. That may have not been what he wished for.
What do you mean by he was number 4?
Within their positions as council members, because Yaya Jammeh was number 1 as chairman, Sana Sabali number 2 as deputy, Sadibu has either number 3 as Minister of Interior. Then he came Edward Singate number 4 and Defense Minister. And it plays in the hierarchy.
How did you see Edward Singate in terms of his ambition at the time?
He was over-ambitious.
Can you explain what you mean by that?
If you wanting to supersede the others in ranks or responsibility or positions.
You are certain about what you say?
Yes.
On this particular day we were talking about at State House, you heard Edward Singate say to Yaya Jammeh, "Sir, let's do it now."
No, he said, "Why can't we do it now?"
Why can't we do it now? And Yaya Jammeh responded, "Nañ xaar be after ngénte." And then Yaya Jammeh later pointed out a ram to you to be taken to Sana Sabali.
That's right.
You said the ram was eventually taken to Sana Sabali.
That's right.
Okay. Did you hear about the naming ceremony after that?
I didn't even hear of the naming ceremony. I can't remember hearing of the naming ceremony because I didn't know the exact even day of that. But I knew I sent a ram there from Yaya Jammeh for his christening ceremony. But the actual day, I can't remember whether I knew.
And what happened after that?
After that, I can remember Yaya Jammeh gave me a mission to go to Guinea-Bissau by car. I left State House and went to my residence at Mile 7 to pick up my belongings and go to Guinea-Bissau, to Bissau. It was then that Khalifa Bajinka, late, may also rest in peace, called me again and said, "Sir, something has happened." I said, "What?" He said, Sana Sabali and Sadibu Haidara are arrested. It was then that I changed my movement and moved straight to State House. And I found out that they had already been whisked away to where I didn't know.
Did you come to understand the circumstances under which they were arrested?
Yes.
Tell us.
They were called one after the other to come and report to the chairman. Sana came first, as I heard. And the setup of the office of the president then was, as you move to the corridor towards the office of the president, there are two offices. One was used by the plainclothes protection guards, that's bodyguards, and the other one was that of the ADC. But on the right-hand side of those, the offices are on the left, and on the right-hand side, you have some sort of compartments, of wooden compartments. And soldiers were hiding behind these compartments. And when one was called, and you come up to pass in the compartment, you are grabbed and say you are under arrest. That happened to both of them.
Which soldiers would normally be stationed around that corridor, behind those compartments you talked about?
They are the bodyguards. There are some close protection guards who would be assigned to do certain things.
Like who?
Like Almamo Mane, late. Like late Musa Jamme.
Alias?
Malia Mungo. There was another guy, a tough black guy, Mboob. The first name is Babukar, I hope so, who is from Nyomi. Those are the three I could remember now, as of now.
You said you have explained the setup, and you said that when the person was called and the person went past the barrier, the person is grabbed and told you are arrested. You said that is what happened to Sana Sabali. Was that also what happened to Sadibu Haidara?
That happened to both of them.
How did you know that?
I was informed by those who witnessed it.
What do you say to this story that Sana Sabali went inside the office of Yaya Jammeh, the chairman, together with Haidara, and they pulled pistols and pointed it at the chairman of the AFPRC, Yaya Jammeh? What do you say to that story?
It's a lie. If it had happened, he would have been dead then.
Did you hear this story?
I heard it, Yaya Jammeh saying it on TV. I was laughing when I heard that. I say, I don't expect a head of state to tell such lies. Because definitely, the cooking up, I was there. When they said any council member who comes after 1800 hours should be shot and killed. I overheard also Edward Singate saying, why can't we do it now? And Yaya Jammeh saying after the Ngente. How would they have known that these people would be coming, Sana Sabali and Edward Singate would be coming to his office and pointing weapons at him to kill him?
So your belief is this was planned by Sana Sabali, by Edward Singate and Yaya Jammeh?
Correct. That's my belief, and I'm sure of that.
It was a setup?
It was a setup.
Do you know what eventually happened to Sabali and Haidara?
Well, after Haidara died, which I felt bad, because Haidara was my batchmate. We trained together, the same recruiting.
Let's talk about before their deaths. Do you know where they were taken?
I heard they were taken to Mile 2, and there were torture sessions meted on them.
By who?
Led by Edward Singate.
Do you know who else participated in those torture sessions?
Peter Singate, I believe Musa Jammeh late then, Almamo Mane, I heard of Alaji Martin, now a general in the Gambia Armed Forces, in the military.
How do you know about this?
We were a family. We were working all in the same place. I would have information from all the guards I want to, including the officers at the State House then.
What eventually happened to Edward Singate in terms of his position?
Well, subsequently after that, he automatically rose to the position he was vying for. That is number 2, deputy chairman, and the Minister of Defense.
And what eventually happened to Sadibu?
Sadibu died. I heard of, they say, pressure.
Are you convinced about that?
I was not convinced because I trained with him, and if he had that pressure, if he was having that pressure, he would not have been selected as a recruit, because we undergo all medical tests before being selected to do the training. Maybe it may affect me, I never knew. And in between, when he came back from Turkey, usually weekends, not all weekends, but time to time, he would come and spend a whole day in my house, or I will go and spend a whole day in his house. I was at the State House. He was then in Yundum Barracks, but staying at around Serekunda Market, to their family house. And he never complained that to me.
Do you suspect the torture has anything to do with his death?
I suspect.
Now, do you know a person called Usman Korosise?
I know him very well.
How did you come to know him?
He was a class junior to me at the Gambia High School.
Did you have a relationship with him?
No personal relationship, but I knew him, observed him, and knew him as a gentleman, calm, disciplined, intelligent, and somebody with integrity. I respected him very much.
And in 1995 or thereabout, did you have occasion to meet him?
Yes, in fact, wanting to help Chairman Jammeh to succeed in his mission, I scouted Korosise, Usman Korosise. I pointed out to him that I knew somebody who, if you have him by your side, would be very helpful because of the qualities I know in him.
And who was that person?
Usman Korosise. I was talking to Chairman Jammeh then. Then he asked me to bring him. Korosise Usman was then working with Quantum. They were at Hill Street, Dobson Hill Street, there. I went for him. I talked to him that the president wants to see you. We came together. I took him to the office of the president, then I went back to my office. For a while, I was called to come and pick him. I went, took him, and dropped him to his office. Then after some time, a week or two again, Chairman Jammeh asked me to bring Korosise to him again, which I did. And this time, after their meeting, when I returned back with Korosise, he came and said, I want to employ him as Permanent Secretary, Office of the President. I told him, it depends on you. You are the big boss. I just spotted somebody I think who would be very useful to you. That's where I can stop. The rest, it depends on you. Then he was finally appointed Permanent Secretary, Office of the President.
During his time at State House, did his position change at all?
Yes. During his tenure of office, I believe he contributed a lot in helping the man, in helping President Jammeh, because he was always called upon and giving advices. And after a time, he was appointed Minister of Finance and became very close to Yahya Jammeh, because definitely he would be needing needing him for advices.
And at this stage, what was the power dynamics like in Yahya Jammeh's government, especially members of the council or cabinet for that matter?
Well, if you be calling the council were still, they seemed the upper echelon, that is chairman, vice chairman, interior minister, local government minister, the uniformed men, then the civilians. But in responsibility, Usman Koro Sise was becoming more closer to the chairman than the others.
Was that viewed favorably by the others, those you call the others?
I know it would not be favorable to Edward Singate. He didn't want anybody to be between him and the president.
Do you know how Edward Singate viewed the relationship between Yahya Jammeh and Koro Sise at the time?
I was telling you, it was very close, because Yahya Jammeh had high esteem for Koro Sise, and getting him always at his office for advice or for any other things that he mentioned. But he was most of the time with Yahya Jammeh. And jealous, I believe it was then that jealousy started rising from Edward Singate's end.
Jealousy against who?
Against Usman Koro Sise. As I told you, Edward Singate would not want anybody to be between him and President Jammeh.
And your testimony is that Edward Singate was jealous of Usman Koro Sise because he was increasingly getting closer to Jammeh.
That's correct.
Did anything happen in 1996 when you were to travel with the president to Addis Ababa?
No, I didn't even travel with the president. I went in advance to Addis Ababa for the OAU summit. Usually, I used to travel on advanced security trips so that prepare the ground for the president before he comes. You know, where the conference is held, his residence, and any other advice he may need. Sometimes, if it is in cold countries, what type of dress they will come with and everything. In this case, I left with, then in that trip, an advance party, the late Abamarena, this Bad, who was a general and now away, Ibrahim Abba, who was my deputy then at the State House when I was interim commandant, and I left for Addis Ababa. After then, Yahya Jammeh joined us in Addis Ababa. When he came, barely an hour after or so, I got a call from Gambia.
Who was the caller?
Lantombong Tamba.
What position did he hold at this time?
He was State Guard Commandant.
What information did he give you?
That something serious has happened. And I asked, what was that? He said, Koro is dead. I said, how? This is serious. And I even felt guilty there that I was the one who introduced Koro to the president. It was not my intention for him to die like so early and there. But he told me that nehut ben nehut, but there is foul play. He told me there was definitely there was foul play because they said the car got an accident and burnt. But if you see the car, there is no dent, which means there was no accident.
Did you receive any other information concerning that?
Yes, when I came back to Gambia. And what surprised me, sir, before we came back to Gambia, I never heard Yaya Jammeh mentioning the name of Koro Sise, a state minister, whom, if we didn't forget, I introduced him to, dead in the Gambia, not even talking to me about that, or anybody else I may hear, nobody. Because from there, I can remember we traveled to Mecca for the Umrah via Egypt. At Addis, Egypt, then to Mecca. It was the time that Mubarak's life was attempted in that OAU summit, I can remember, when in Addis. The whole trip, because we stayed for some days there for the summit, passed through Saudi Arabia, performed the Umrah, came back to Gambia. He never talked about Koro Sise.
Did you eventually receive information as to how Koro died?
Yes, when I came back, as I tell you, I used to talk to soldiers because my doors were open. Then I was chief of protocol. No, astaghfirullah. I was still chief of staff. But I talked to soldiers. Sometimes they would come to my office, help me with this, I want to buy this, or I want to make a telephone call, phone call. So, they feel easy talking to me. And they told me that day at the airport before the departure of the president, at the foot of the aircraft, he talked to Edward Singate. Then when he took the stairs up, before he entered the aircraft again.
Did he talk to Edward Singate alone or Edward Singate together with other people?
To Edward Singate alone. That's the version I have.
At the foot of the aircraft?
At the foot of the aircraft.
What happened after that?
Then when he took the stairs up, before he entered the aircraft, he called again Edward Singate, and they talked again.
Was that usual? Was that normal?
No. It wasn't normal. It would be normal, nothing to talk there, unless something urgent. But at the foot of the aircraft, before the president leaves, the last person he would shake hands with is either usually after the vice president, he would shake hands with the service chiefs, and sometimes then the state guard commandant, and give any instruction if that may be. But Edward, yes, he was deputy chairman. He may have talked to him, but up to going up again and talking to him, it was not normal.
And it was that day or after that event that Mr. Usman Koro Sise died?
According to the version I received from the soldiers, immediately that the aircraft took off, the president took off, Koro Sise was asked to join the vehicle of Edward Singate. With him together, they drove. And as I heard, they drove to Yankuba Toure's house at Kololi here then, around Kololi, where he was staying. And that's where he was killed, put into his vehicle, taken to, I think, around Jambur. I think there is a bridge around that area. And that's where the car was burnt. And there the guard said even the brother Edward Singate, that's Peter Singate, had a burnt. He was burnt at the arm, on the arm.
And did they say how Peter Singate sustained that burn? Did they give you?
Well, they say when they were, because the car, they burned the car. And from there, his fire may have touched him, the hand.
When you came back to State House, was there any discussion of this event among the council members and Yaya Jammeh, as far as you know?
You know, usually when the council members sit, unless they call me, I would not be there. Maybe they call me to give me instructions or any other thing. But when they were having their own meetings, I'm never there. So I would not know whether they themselves discussed about it.
But you never heard Yaya Jammeh say anything about it?
I never heard him say anything about it.
How about Singate? Did you ever hear him say anything about Usman Korosise thereafter?
Never.
Yankuba Ture, did you hear him say anything about Usman Korosise afterwards?
No.
Did you have any discussions with late Khalifa Bajinka about what happened to Koro?
Khalifa traveled with the president. He was then ADC to the president.
Did you ever have any discussions with him about it?
I can't remember discussing with him anything about Korosise. And even if I tell you I knew exactly the guard who told me of the incidents, definitely I forgot who, because my doors were open to all these young soldiers who would be coming in to say hi or to have their own problems that I may be able to settle or anything of that sort, telephone calls or anything.
When this event happened, you were still Chief of Staff. Did your position eventually change?
Yes. By 1990, I remained the Chief of Staff up to 1996. By 1997, I was Chief of Protocol.
And you remained as Chief of Protocol until when?
Until 2001, I moved to Army headquarters.
And up to 2001, you therefore must have been there when the incident of April 10th and 11th of 2000 took place.
Then I was at the State House as Chief of Protocol.
And on that particular event, you traveled abroad with Yaya Jammeh, didn't you?
We were in Cuba, Havana.
We understand you have some urgent family matters to attend to. We won't touch this subject now. We would come back to it when next you testify before the commission.
I would appreciate it.
All right. But you moved to Yundum Barracks in 2001. What happened to your career afterwards?
It was not Yundum Barracks. I moved to Army headquarters.
I beg your pardon, my error, Army headquarters. And what happened to your career after that?
Well, in 2001, there were presidential elections, general elections. There was this Officers' Wives Association. We were asked as officers to give our wives our camouflage trousers and be issued with T-shirts of TRRC and Yaya Jammeh for campaigning.
So the idea was the officers' wives would wear camouflage plants and Yaya Jammeh T-shirts and go out on campaign.
For the campaign. I objected to that my wife is not going to do that. I'm not a politician. If I'm to support any member, it's through the vote, not to go and campaign for anybody. Other officers did.
And did anything happen to you after that?
Yes, then they campaigned. I can remember just at the end of the campaign, they were giving money. They came because the headquarters was Mile 7. Most of the officers were staying at Mile 7. I can remember some women telling my wife, we've been giving money by Jame, but you're not a part of it. But what happened to me, after the results, there were the victory celebrations. It usually be on Saturday, Sunday. Then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I was going to office. And at some point around 11, then Babukar Jatta was the commandant of the Gambian forces. He called me into his office. I went in. And as soon as I stepped in, he started crying. I was worried. I said, why? Why is this crying? Sir, what's it? He cried for about 2-3 minutes. Then he just bowed his head and handed me a letter. I opened it and see you are discharged with immediate effects. All benefits will be paid. That is, my service will be terminated.
And what happened after that?
Well, it was Friday. By Monday, I came hand over all my military kits, that's the kitting, went to the military police, signed, and when I signed that I've handed over everything, then they served me my letter of discharge. And there, I can still remember, Babukar Jatta was so worried and said some people went to tell President Jammeh that I was campaigning for UDP. Even there was a place where they said I was planning a coup d'etat. I don't know what one-man coup d'etat, how can one man do that? But I accepted in good faith and went home.
Did you return to the service?
Well, after a terrible 6-7 years, I returned in 2007.
How did that happen?
What happened?
Your return to the service.
It was another time. I was called upon by Lang Tombong Tamba. Then he was general and CDS, Chief of Defense Staff. That my services would be needed again. He's talked to the president and that my services will be needed again.
So these 6-7 years that you were that you were out of employment, were you paid your benefits?
It was retirement.
That was paid?
Yes.
Okay. So after you received that information from Lam Tombong, did you go back to the service?
Yes, I did.
And what happened? What position did you hold?
I went back as Director of Admin and Logistics.
At where?
Gambia Armed Forces.
At where?
At the Army headquarters, GAF headquarters.
And what happened to your career after that?
Some months after, I was nominated for a mission to Liberia, United Nations Observer Mission to Liberia. I left Gambia on the 13th of November 2008 for Liberia. I was there as a UN staff until one day, for 11 months almost, 9th October 2009, excuse me. I got a call from one Seho Omar Cham, he is a friend, that we just hearing over the radio that you've been dismissed with Lang Tombong Tamba and others. I said, yeah. I said, yeah. And I go, okay. No reason given. He said, no. I continued my mission. Then some week or so after, I heard that Lang Tombong and others were arrested and charged for coup d'etat. Then friends and family members started calling me. Don't come. If you come, you will be arrested. Because the guys, the list in which you are in, those guys are already arrested and accused of coup d'etat. I said, I'm coming. I'm coming because I was on a one-year mission in Liberia. I was not in the Gambia. They tell me you can take asylum and go to any other country because you're already with the UN. I say I can do it, but I'm not doing it. If I run away to other place, they will say then what they accuse Lantombong and others is true. I'll come back, and if I am arrested, I will accept. But I am coming back. And I will never leave or die tomorrow and they say to my children that your father ran away. I will not do it. I'm coming back to Gambia. And exactly the day we finished our mission on the 4th of December, the same day I returned to the Gambia.
What happened when you returned?
I arrived here around 4 a.m. with Royal Air Maroc. Usually it arrived late hours, or at 4 a.m. By 5, 6 I was in my house. And by 8 o'clock I was at the Armed Forces headquarters. Then Masane Kinte was the CDS. I went, reported that I am back. And I can remember people asking, when did you come? I said, this early morning. It was on a Friday morning. Why can't you wait till Monday you come and report? I say, if I wait till Monday and people see me around in town, they'll say I am coming, I'm here and hiding. I want to come and report now. Then I went and briefed Masani Kinte, General Kinte, Masani Kinte, of my trip, that where I was there and everything has gone well and I'm back. He told me, okay. He didn't tell me anything. He told me, okay. Then I seek for his permission to go out. He left me. I went home. That same day, towards midnight, after midnight, one military police officer called me from Yundum barracks and said, sir, we've received instructions to come and ticket you tomorrow morning, Saturday. I told him, yes, but some of my luggage are not here, where some military kids are. If you may wait till around Wednesday, everything will be here by DHL, then I'll bring them, or you come and take. He said, sir, forgive us. These are instructions from up. Then automatically I knew it's from the big man, from Yaya Jammeh. I said, okay, then you can come. The following morning they came, and I handed over all those that were with me that the army owned. And 3 days after, about 5 days after, because about Wednesday, this thing arrived. I got my luggage. I went, returned everything, and signed out to the Yundum headquarters at the military police.
Were your services terminated?
My services were not terminated.
Did you receive any letter?
That's why I say my services were not terminated. They were not terminated because I was not picked from the streets and just given uniform to be a soldier. I went under screening, all tests, physical, medical, and anything, and I was written and appointed to the Gambia National Gendarmerie, which continued to be the Gambia National Army. Then I just cannot go like that without even verbal something from the CDS or from any authority that I have been dismissed from the service.
Did you discuss the matter with the CDS after you were declared?
I was expecting him to call me or give me instructions. I was never arrested or looked out for our absence without leave.
You received no communication
Usually,
about your status at the time?
no, usually, as I told you, the first time I was discharged was in 2001. And normal way is when you are declared, when you signed out your declaring, that's where you are served a letter that you've been discharged or dismissed. When I came from Liberia, I reported to CDS. He didn't tell me anything. When they came for my declaring and I finally went and submitted everything, they gave me a form to sign. Yet after that, nobody gave me anything, like a letter that I was being dismissed. And I was waiting for further instructions, which is in the armed forces, which I never received.
Did the instructions ever arrive?
Never.
As far as you know, what is your status?
My salary being seized without being dismissed. From November 2009 to September 2017 when I was retired.
Did you receive notification of your retirement?
Well, there was a panel I had, it was said that anybody who was illegally dismissed. And I went to report, I went to the NIA, we were called, I can remember, I went with Lantombong Tamba the same day. And what happened after? There was a letter given to us that I had been retired from August 2017. I then wrote a letter, I may say letters, to the Permanent Secretary PMO, to the Permanent Secretary Defense, to the Secretary General Head of the Civil Service. All of them telling them that my salary has been seized without being dismissed. I had never been issued with a dismissal letter. There was even a time I sat with the Permanent Secretary of PMO, and when he went through all the files, and they said that there was no dismissal letter in my file, he told me, bro, this was a mistake in the system. I told him, what, am I to pay for a mistake of the system? I am not to pay for that. I should be paid all my salaries that were due to me from November 2009 to August 2017.
And you are pursuing this matter in order for?
I went to the extent, up to the extent of the ombudsman. I reported my case to the TRRC here at the office there around Senegambia. I did all that.
Mr. Njai, thank you very much for answering my questions. We have another rendezvous with you to proceed with your testimony on other subjects of interest to the TRRC. I understand you have other matters to attend to.
Definitely.
I would cede the floor to the commissioners to ask questions, if any, for the last 10 minutes that we have. Thank you very much, Mr. Njai, for being so helpful.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Lead Counsel. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Lead Counsel, it seems as if there are no questions. Commissioner C.
Commissioner C.
My name is Commissioner C.
Mr. Njai.
Mr. Njai.
Tudon nga fi Yaya Jammeh yónnee woon na la ci oto Guinée Bissau.
You made mention that Yaya Jammeh
waaw loolu laa bëggoon nga leeral su fekkee ne mën na leer lu mu la yónnee woon.
What did he send you for to go to?
am na lu ma ko doon tëbbul ci embassy bi.
Ci
embassy bi Guinée Bissau.
To work on something for him at the embassy in Guinea Bissau.
Usually, dem na ay yoon yu may yónnee ci embassy bi Guinée Bissau.
Different times to.
du benn yoon du
the
ñaari yoon
embassy
am na yu nga
in
xam ne
Senegal,
ànd naa
in
sax
Guinea-Bissau,
former
not once, not twice.
Director General NIA mu doon Mr. Ba
There was a time the director of NIA, Mr.
ak
Ba,
Ablaye Kujabi
and Mr. Abdullah Kujabi,
and then Diouf nekkoon
and one chief,
IGP
who was once the IGP.
àndoon naa moom si embassy bi.
I went with them to the embassy.
Thank you. Commissioner Ka?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner, how did your the seizure of your salary without dismissal affect your family, especially your children?
Well, as a family man, basically, that's where I survived from salary. I am not doing any business. And I was coming from a mission, but that mission, most of it was used because when I was out of job, before I rejoined job, I had a sick child, my daughter. But almost all the money I got, I used it on her medication because before I could get something to take care of her, the situation was very serious. She was called Aji Fatunjai. She was evacuated to Dakar through the means I had, but barely 1 week. She died there.
Mr. Njai, perhaps maybe we should just leave it at that. Sorry, Mr. Njai is also bereaved today. Thank you.
Lead counsel, here we will need your advice.
I think we should end it at that.
Yes, I really wanted to extend our condolences to him, but he has gone, so maybe we can do it in the room when we get back. Because on behalf of all the commissioners, yourselves, the executive secretary and staff, the interpreters, and all of you present here, we would really like to extend our condolences to Mr. Njai, who, in spite of his bereavement, took it upon himself to come and help us to create the impartial record of violations and abuses of human rights from July 1994 to January 27, which he did, I think, quite courageously. Unfortunately now, he is really upset, so we have to call it a day, and I think we will meet here tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Interpreters, I think you are happy. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock. Thank you. Commissioners?